Roshan, and to the viewers of The Big Conversation, good evening to you all, wherever you might be joining us. You catch me at the tail end of a candlelight vigil that was called for by the London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who was at pains to point out that London is one of the greatest cities in the world and that it's our unity, it's our diversity that is actually a strength. But let me bring into the perspective some other guests who are speaking tonight, because it was a particularly broad church, if you might pardon the religious pun there, because we had participants from across the religious spectrum representing synagogues, mosques, temples and non-religious entities, and the message was supposed to be one of unity. Amber Rudd, the present Home Secretary, she turned up with a few messages of her own, and we have to point out that it was just hours since we made it clear and made it public and named the perpetrator of the attacks that Roshan has so eloquently summed up, one Khalid Masood. And her department must be asking themselves some very pertinent questions tonight about how is it possible that someone that the intelligence agencies were quite clear about having some kind of low-level monitoring would have been able to carry out something like this. And it's one of the issues that I'm sure your viewers will be bringing up tonight about the idea that broad monitoring, sweeping monitoring powers without any real intelligence and the cooperation of the community will not work. We saw yesterday on the bridge what happens when, for whatever reason, and Roshan is right, we will not speculate wildly about the motivations here, but it's clear that something had gone terribly wrong for a man who's supposed to be born and brought up in the United Kingdom. Roshan.
Yeah, and unfortunately I think you're right, Amina. I think the backlash will take place against the Muslim community, and that will become obvious in the days and weeks to come. But Amina, I'm just going to ask you a final question. Obviously people are emotional at the moment. They're thinking about the people who lost their lives yesterday. Is it too early for people to actually forensically examine why this attack took place? Are they asking those kind of questions?
I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, why is it taking so long to ask these very pertinent questions? And I've done a package, a kind of wrap-up on this issue today. And the guest I spoke to, who was actually one of the members held in Parliament for nearly 6 hours as the security agencies tried to ascertain that everyone was safe and to make sure what was going on outside didn't spill in, is that it is quite clear that there is a direct correlation between 2003, Tony Blair's policy there, his own security services warned of domestic blowback should this continue. 2005, when we spoke about what happened in the minds of some of these attackers, the ones who helped to cost 52 lives back on the 7th of July, and some of their motivation, the links were quite clear. This isn't something that is a conspiracy theory or something that we have to ask ourselves about why. What I will say to you, though, very, very clearly, is those who are brave enough to be clear, to be so concise in their thinking on this, they need to be given more of a platform to express those opinions, because it seems the rhetoric is quite clear. Unless you are Islamophobic and bashing the Muslim community, remember, Tommy Robinson, former head of the EDL, was given airtime last night. Someone had just died, and there he was getting his 2 minutes on the news. It was actually disgusting. So instead of asking very pertinent questions about how we've ended up here, how is it that perhaps there have been security failures, how is it possible that it's 2017 and the very heart of the British establishment is being attacked? No, we're victim blaming, and we're also turning a very, very blind eye to what our government does and continues to do, Roshan.